Here we have a 9 inch by 12 inch piece of watercolor paper, water, paints, and a brush. These are pan watercolor paints right now. They are dry. I don't have plans to mix any colors, and I don't need a palette. I just need the dry paint, which I'll activate using water. I'm going to make 2 combinations of complementary colors. So I'll be using 4 total panels, and I want them to be long from top to bottom. So I'm folding this paper in half and then in half again. That will give me 4 different rectangles. When you look at the color wheel and you go across the circle, cutting across the circle, you'll discover your complementary colors. Yellow and violet, green and red, orange and blue, turquoise, and this red-orange color. So I'm going to choose a combination of colors to start with. I think I'll go with red and green. One column will be red, one column will be green. I'm going to make sure that I get one space very wet, because we are learning through this exercise about wet paint on wet paper, also known as wet into wet. So my first painting is just water. In the watercolor world, we call this a water mask. And I can see from where I sit where the water is shiny on the paper versus parts of the paper that are still a bit dry. So this is wet into wet watercolor paper. I went ahead and tried to make the dark red as dark as I could, and then I pulled it down into the water. And as I moved the red paint on my paper through the water, it got fainter and lighter until I got to a light pink and then the white of the paper. This is called a color gradient. So I made a mistake and said I was going to do dark to light, dark to light. And I wish that I had done it correctly where I went from dark to light. But I goofed that up. I think what I'll do is get some more blue and make it dark here and light there. I'll show you how I do that in a minute. For now, I'd like to finish my project. So it should go dark, light, dark, light. Oh, look what I've done. I'm making a lot of mistakes for you. But I'm learning and lifting up those colors that are making them a problem. That's about as dark as I can make my yellow. So I guess that will have to do. I'm going to return to my mistake here. And I'm going to add water to the blue. I'm turning it purple this time around. And I want the end here to become light again, almost as light as the paper. And while watercolor is a little trickier, it's not impossible to undo your mistakes. First, I'm spreading that paint down here to my, what is the currently light end. This will be a dark violet that covers over. And now where it's wet, I can lift the color by blotting with the paper towel. Finding a clean area and blotting, I can lift up a lot of that paint. I'm using my brush and water on this paper and agitating the color, which may be hard on the paper. And if this wasn't such good, strong watercolor paper, I would have ripped a hole in my paper already. You can see how wet the paper is because the paint is bleeding into the wet area here. So here is my watercolor study on dark to light value gradients using wet paint into wet paper, also known as wet into wet.